Welcome, everybody, to the Hounds podcast. This is your home for field trialing and deer dog hunting. It'll be stories and discussions on the world of dog hunting. So let's drop the gate, cast your hounds, and get ready for another episode of the Hounds podcast. All right, everybody, welcome to the Hounds podcast. This will be for the episode right here in the middle of February. Got a little bit going on with some of your little side topics and things like that, but the main part of this episode is going to be with our friend from Elite Nutrition, Mr. Chip Kohser. I know we've been talking about a lot here about the Elite Nutrition, their new partner with the podcast, and they're pretty excited to try to get into the sport, guys. So I know this isn't I know a lot of guys are wanting topics and guests and stuff like that are houndsmen from in this field, especially the field trial world. But it's also good to shine the spotlights on the guys that are supporting us or want to get into the sport. This company is, I think, going to be a big player in the game, to be honest with you. I know my friends over at Cajun Lights have been trying to get me to talk with these guys and work with these guys for a good little while, and I'm big, man, on if I don't believe in something, if I don't think it works, I just don't promote it. I'm not going to promote it. If you hear me talking about it on here or promoting it on here, it's not because I'm getting paid off or not getting. It's not for attention. It's because I actually believe in the product, and we're going to go through these products, and I promise you, every product that I've tried so far, and I haven't tried them all, but all the ones that I have tried so far, in love with. And I hope that y'all will give these guys a chance, and you'll hear it more than once on this episode. But you'll hear it in the commercials as well. But if you go to CajunLights.com and on your Elite Nutrition products that you can get through Cajun Lights, you can enter a code HTElite10. That's HTELITE, the number 10 at checkout, and you'll get 10% off your order. That lets them know that you heard about them from the podcast, and so it does me good, and I promise with the products that you get, you will love the results. I'm a firm believer that's probably the best wormer on the market, and again, this is not knocking any other wormer out there. I've used a lot of good wormers, and they do great jobs, but this wormer that these guys have is bar none. But anyway, guys, so let's get into it. I ain't gonna hold y'all up some more, and I'll let Chip introduce himself once this episode gets really rocking and rolling, and y'all just stay tuned, and I hope y'all enjoy it. All right, thanks, guys. The Hounds podcast is proud to partner with Outdoor Dog Supply again for the 2025 season. Outdoor Dog Supply is the leader in online garment sales with their world-class trade-in programs. These guys are not just a business, they're also houndsmen and women too. They test their products out in the field and really put them to the test. Get the latest in garment equipment, stay locked and ready with field trial equipment, collars, leashes, and so much more. Visit their website today at OutdoorDogSupply.com, and we want to thank Outdoor Dog Supply for their support not only for the podcast, but in the field trials across the country. When you're looking for your next purchase and equipment, keep Outdoor Dog Supply in mind. Now let's get this episode started, guys. Thank y'all so much. All right, everybody, welcome to the Hounds podcast. In this episode, we are joined by Mr. Chip Kohser, and make sure I'm saying that right. That is exactly how you say your last name, right?
Yeah, you're doing it good.
Okay, all right. I know sometimes I can get some names mixed up, and I don't want to butcher it. And
I won't ask you to spell it though. It gets butchered on the spelling more than it does the pronunciation.
I believe it. I had to go back and look at your email a couple times, make sure I got the right letters in order.
Yeah, I always got to remind people that I'm German, not Jewish.
Right. Perfect, man. Perfect. So, I'll kind of let you give a little introduction on yourself, brother. Kind of just tell you who you are, where you're from, and, the company that you're here to talk about today.
Okay. Well, my name's Chip Kohser. Work with Elite Nutrition. I actually live in Greenville, Pennsylvania, which is about halfway between Pittsburgh and Erie on the western side of the state. my background, heck, I've been in the dog world almost my whole life. My granddaddy's actually the one that founded Joy Dog Food back in 1945. And then in 2003, my dad sold that business. And honestly, between 2003 and 2017, I was self-employed as a Joy distributor. And that got off on a variety of different tangents. As anybody that's self-employed knows that those tangents sometimes happen.
That's right.
And then I had divvied up different pieces of my business over the years. And in 2017, the opportunity arose that I went back to work for Joy as their sales manager.
Gotcha.
And at that time, quite frankly, I don't think there was too many Hound guys left that had remembered. It was everybody's dad and granddad that remembered Joy. And
yeah.
I said, well, why are we doing it this way? Let's do it the way my daddy did it, and we can get some business. And that's kind of when we really, with Joy, started going back into the dog world. And in 2018, I was looking for a distributor. The two areas where Joy is very strong is in the hunting dog world, but also with the dog breeder world. The people who are raising puppies for a living. And there was a pocket of kennels down in southern Indiana that I need distribution for. And I had, at one of the seminars, I had met some folks from Elite Nutrition.
Okay.
And I talked to them about being a distributor for me in that southern Indiana.
Right.
And I didn't know anything about them other than they were an Amish-owned family company from southern Indiana. They were in the right spot, and I convinced Kenny to spend a bunch of money on that first truckload of dog food.
Right.
And I knew they did supplements.
Yeah.
But again, I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, and for you guys down south that aren't real familiar with the Amish communities, we've got them about every rural town in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Has Amish communities in it.
Right.
Quite frankly, the reason we're a red state now instead of a blue state is because of my Amish friends.
That's right.
I'm appreciative of them.
Yeah, all right.
But one of the things growing up is I had done business when I was self-employed in and out of those Amish communities, and I knew there was. Sorry, I shut my phone on silent.
No, you're
there.
fine. You're fine.
And within those Amish communities, there's a lot of companies that are selling snake oil.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They'll come in, you got a product, it's a really big deal for a couple years, and then they don't pay their bills, so they change the name of the company or whatever. I mean, I remember when I was 20 years old having an Amishman try to sell me fuel injector cleaner, and I'm sitting there thinking, what does a guy in a horse and buggy know about fuel injector cleaner? So that was my perspective of Elite Nutrition at that point in time was, okay, they sell snake oil, but they're moving dog food for me.
Right.
And as time wore on, they're moving more and more dog food for me. In fact, they became our largest distributor with Joy.
Okay.
And it wasn't servicing, they were servicing those kennels for me but the reason they were going through so much dog food is because they had 800 dealers throughout the country selling their products that they were now selling dog food too.
That makes sense.
So it really started blowing up. And again, I didn't know much about them other than they were selling a lot of dog food, but I started going to some meetings with them.
Right.
And in one of the meetings we were in, their nutritionist and the guy that runs their therapy barn. So that was the first sign that they were a little bit different than those snake oil guys, is they have their own nutritionist.
Right.
And they actually have their own therapy barn for the equine side where they treat horses that everybody else has given up on.
Right. Okay.
To a very high rate. And then, in fact, they even have a training center where they break over 200 horses a year for the racetrack. So they're doing more than just selling product. But in that meeting, I'm sitting there in that meeting, and they were talking about EPM in horses. And some of your guys down there that are horse people might know what EPM is, but it's a protozoa that gets into the spinal cord of horses, and they can it would either affect their gut or their hind end, but it's a very common problem in the horse world. And it comes from possums. Whenever they eat hay or grass, your possum scat. So sometimes it's called possum's disease.
Huh, okay. I haven't heard of that yet.
And it's one of those things that traditionally you go on to Trazerol for the rest of the horse's life, and you may see a difference, but they basically tell you you're going to have it for the rest of your life.
Right.
Well, in that, they said, Adam, the guy that runs the therapy barn, in the meeting, he said, we got this combination of products that we can get rid of and remove EPM in horses. That they worked with Florida State University and University of Kentucky. And
Wow.
I mean, they're flat out killing EPM. And I had horses as a kid growing up, and I had heard of EPM, but I didn't really know what it was. So I'm Googling EPM.
Yeah.
And it comes up and it says it's a spirochete in the same family as Lyme disease.
Okay.
So after the meeting was over, I went to the nutritionist and I said, so if this works on this, will this work on Lyme disease in dogs?
Right.
And she's like, in theory it should, but we've never really done any trials or clinical tests on it. And I said, well, you need to do that.
Yeah, daggone right.
So in the next year and a half, they did that. And to be honest, whenever they had made the decision that they were going to release that to the public, is whenever I gave my notice to Joy to go work for Elite Nutrition.
Very nice. Okay.
And the logic there was, I know dog food.
Right.
I've always known dog food, but anybody that's been in the dog food world knows that whenever people post, what are you feeding your dogs on Facebook, it is the most controversial topic known to mankind.
Oh my gosh.
There's a million dog food companies, and the reality is all but two of us are fighting for the scraps that the two big boys leave us behind.
That's right.
or I could go work for Elite Nutrition, still have my fingers in dad's and granddad's business because we're still a distributor for Joy.
Right.
But I get to be the only toy store at Christmas. So I made the decision to go work for Elite Nutrition, and I've been very happy since. So that's kind of where I came from and what brought me to work for Elite. And then obviously with my involvement, we've gotten very much more heavily involved in the hunting dog world, and we've actually rolled out some new products geared specifically towards the hunting dog community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're definitely going to be talking about that here in just a few minutes. The Hounds Tales podcast would like to take a minute and talk about our friends over at Cajun Lights. When pleasure running at night or judging those nighttime field trials, you can put your trust in Cajun Lights. With the economical Cajun Bayou for the every now and then light user, the Cajun Micro for the nighttime feeds and around the house times, then the top level Cajun Blinder for those hardcore crossing getters at night. The Cajun Lights are headlamp style light that free up your hands for voice recorders or your GPS. They offer flood style lights in red, amber, and a white walking light. Then the top of the line 4-level main beam light. If you're having a hard time catching crossings at night, give the Cajun Light a try. And the red and amber setting to catch the game without distracting them. And with the easy flick of a switch, go back to your main beam light to catch your hounds in action and get those numbers. Visit their website today at CajunLights.com, and at the checkout, make sure you fill out the survey after your purchase and select Hounds Tales Podcast to receive 5% off your next purchase with Cajun Lights. Now, let's get back to the episode. So what exactly what is your role at Elite Nutrition now then?
I guess I'm classified as the sales manager.
Gotcha.
So I oversee the rest of the sales team.
Okay.
But I also have the luxury of, we have 9 sales reps, and 3 of us are what we call English, not Amish.
Right.
So I can fly, and I have a driver's license, so I get my territory. I get to pick up some of the loose ends that are a little bit more difficult for the other guys to get to.
I understand. Excuse me. Well, perfect. So kind of going to the hound hunting thing, did y'all, as growing up, did y'all have a lot of dogs and involved in hunting as you were growing up?
Believe it or not, it cracks me up. So my family's made their living off of dog food since the 40s.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I remember going to beagle trials, and I remember going down to Abington, Virginia for a fox dog bench show one time when I was a little kid. And I don't remember her name, but there was a pretty good looking blonde down there that I was chasing that weekend.
Right.
But that was years and years ago. I was 13 or 14.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I went to a lot of coon hunts, but the only dang dogs my dad and grandfather ever had were miniature dachshunds. So one of the first things I did whenever my wife and I got married is I went and got myself some bird dogs so I could actually live the life that everybody was talking about. So I actually have Boykin Spaniels now. I've had them for, not the same batch, but I've had Boykin for 25 years now.
Okay, I got you. What do you do with them?
I do started out, I did a lot of upland hunting, and I
Okay.
still do a lot of upland hunting.
Right.
Pennsylvania's tough though because that West Nile virus and the bird flu has kind of knocked out our resident birds as far as the grouse goes.
I got you.
So I end up, and our game commission has a very good pheasant stalking program.
Right.
If you have a good dog and your limit's 2, you go hunt for the day and you're done in 20 minutes.
20. Yeah.
So,
yeah, it makes sense.
We have carried him to other states for different things.
Yeah.
And then whenever I try to get the rest of my family out of their tree stands and onto something that I find much more fun,
Right.
We'll go to a preserve or something like that where we know we're going to have birds on the ground. Where I'm at, we do have a pretty good flyway for woodcock, so I do go after woodcock a little bit, and I'm just starting to dabble in waterfowl because with the Boykin, they're pretty versatile and
right.
And at first I thought, let's get into a hobby that's a little bit less expensive because I don't have to buy my game. Well, let me tell you, waterfowl hunting, it's not really any less expensive.
Right.
We're getting to the point where we might need a new building just for the decoys.
That's right. I've heard that a lot from some guys that do that stuff, and that's
one of the things that I plan on doing, and I haven't done it yet, is we have a fall turkey season where we're allowed to use dogs for, and that's one thing I do want to get. I want to get done.
Man, you talk about a lost art.
I've got a big list of things I need to get done because I've got right now my male is what I call my lifetime dog.
Right.
And he's now 6, so there's a whole lot of bucket list items I want to get done before he's gone. So
yeah, before he gets a little too old to be doing all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I understand that. Man, that's a form of hunting I've never got to experience, is going bird dog hunting. I've never got to experience that. If I ever make my way up towards y'all's way, you're going to have to take me one time and show me how it's done.
Absolutely. The one thing I like about it is we're Pennsylvania, big deer hunting state. They love and they don't get to run we sit in tree stands and freeze our butt off. We don't get to run dogs.
Right.
And we complain about the fact that there's not as many hunters as there used to be.
Yeah.
I could tell you flat out, it's because you get a 8-year-old kid, you go to a tree stand, he freezes his butt off for 9 hours, and he gets told to sit still, shut up, and freeze. Whereas when you get to go small game hunting or coon hunting or fox hunting, you get to talk and you get to shoot stuff.
That's right.
And you're moving, so you don't get cold.
I know.
Although you guys down there probably don't get cold very often either, anyhow. But.
I don't know. We got about 6 inches of snow on the ground outside right now, so we're getting a little hit of it here late in the season, what we call it.
That's why you get off work early today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's just another day. I actually haven't seen my grass since December the 6th.
Oh my gosh, no. Nope. I can't do that, man. I went to college in Ohio, and we had about a month of where it was just frozen. You couldn't see the ground. I was like, I will never, ever do this again. Never do this again. It was awful.
Isn't the cold and isn't when it's covered. It's when the melt comes and everything turns to slop.
Yep. That's how our roads are right now. It's nothing but slop out there. It yanks you all over the place, and then tomorrow morning it'll be a sheet of ice. So it's going to be a nasty morning.
Well, and the biggest thing that's inconvenient for me, you probably can't tell because I'm sitting down, but I'm a middle-aged guy that my belly's gotten a lot bigger over the years. and let me tell you, when you put on them slip-on Skechers or those Hey Dudes, it's a lot more convenient than bending over and trying to hold my breath to tie my boots on whenever it gets sloppy. So I'm looking forward to being able to get dressed a little bit more comfortably in the spring.
You're gonna have to work with your company and see if you can get some weight loss pills going or something.
Oh, I joke all the time that I'm the resident dog expert for Elite Nutrition, but because I'm a middle-aged, overweight guy, I've become the resident human expert because every time the nutritionist comes out with a new pill, she says, "Here, try it. It's for you."
Right. You're the guinea pig in many ways.
And we have some stuff that will suppress your appetite. But that's one thing I haven't tried because, quite frankly, I like to eat, and I don't really want to suppress my appetite.
I don't blame you one bit. You're going to go out one way. You might as well eat good while you're at it.
Exactly right.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. We're going to take a quick second and pause this episode and talk about our partners over at Elite Nutrition. Our hounds, they're athletes, guys. They give us their all each and every time that they're casted. Elite Nutrition offers an all-natural products to give your dogs the natural benefits they deserve. From the canine remove and all-natural wormer to the Electro Boost paste for an electrolyte replenishment. body fluid balance, and blood flow improvement. They also have products like active dog powder for recovery and joint muscle support, essential dog powder for daily vitamins and minerals, probiotics, prebiotics, and enzymes, and then the canine lactate powder for nursing dogs to help with milk supply. There are tons of other products for y'all to check out at CajunLights.com. Then click on the Elite Nutrition section to explore. When you go check out, only at CajunLights.com, use the code HTElite10 to receive 10% off your Elite Nutrition products. Again, that's HTELITE, the number 10, to receive 10% off Elite Nutrition products only via CajunLights.com. I've been using their products over the past couple months, and I could not be happier with the results. See for yourself today, and we want to thank Elite Nutrition for taking a step forward into this field trial sport. Now, let's get back to the episode, guys. So, you kind of talked about the origin story of Elite. So it was founded by the Amish, is what if I'm picking up on that correct?
Still Amish owned, and it actually started out when Elite first started. It was a snake oil company, if you will, way back in the day. But it had one good product.
Right.
My current boss, Kenny Graber, he wanted to make sure he can continue to get that one good product. So he talked to the owner about becoming a dealer of that product and buying that product.
Right.
And this is back in 2011. By the time they got done having the conversation, Kenny had bought the company. and since then, Kenny has grown it. Honestly, Amish, non-Amish alike. I have not been a part of a company or seen a company in my background that has made some of the decisions as wisely as they did to be able to grow, but still keep that that close-knit relationship with their dealer base, with their customer base, to make it still feel like we're all one big family. A lot of times what happens, those companies start to grow, and all of a sudden that personal connection disappears.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's one of the ways my dad used to run Joy, and that's one of the things that I truly value in a company is we don't have to have everything. We'll take our little piece and do it, and do it very well, and take care of those that have gotten us to where we need to be.
I like that. I can respect that a lot. So it sounded like their main, getting started with them, it was their main deal was like horses.
Horses and the human stuff, believe it or not.
Gotcha.
So when he bought it, there was one human product that still remains, and there was one horse product that still remains.
Okay.
At that point in time, they didn't do any dog stuff at all.
Gotcha.
There was a time where they were very heavy in the dairy world, believe it or not.
All right.
And we still do a little bit of that, but the nature of the dairy industry is all those little dairies have disappeared, and they've just become big corporate dairies, and it's a little bit more difficult for a company like us to compete in. So we've kind of gravitated away from the dairy side. We still do a lot of stuff for sheep and goats and raising beef cattle and stuff like that, but the dairy industry is something that we're just not focusing on.
I got you.
And then we got into, and I'm going to be off by a year, but somewhere around 2016, 2017, they got into the dog world because a lot of their dog breeders were using horse products. And when you're breeding dogs for a living, a lot of times that involves getting a state license or a USDA license.
Gotcha.
And when you get those inspections, those off-label products are frowned upon by your inspectors. So we started creating dog products that will have a label for dogs. For those guys that had the inspected kennels. Gotcha.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I was wondering, why it wasn't kind of like a universal label on these things and more, strictly.
And there are certain things like, we have some products that are the same in the horse as in the dogs that are interchangeable now. Right. But then there's also some things that are on the horse that are the same principle in the dogs, but it's more highly concentrated. Just because a 40-pound animal does not consume as much feed as a 1,200 or a 2,000-pound animal, so we have to have higher concentrations.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I got you. All right, y'all. Now it's time for Around the How, presented by Elite Nutrition. Just make sure you check out their products, Elite Nutrition products, at CajunLights.com. And for 10% off of Elite Nutrition products, when you use the code HTELITE and the number 10, that's HT Elite 10 at checkout. All right, let's get it rocking. Welcome to Around the Howl, presented by Elite Nutrition. Not a whole lot going on as far as major things in the hound hunting world right now, not as of, this past week. So it's like nothing that's been like brand new news. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's always stuff going on. There's always people fighting against us, trying to take this away from us. So just kind of be on the lookout, especially inside your own states, on that kind of thing. And I wanted to take a second and point y'all towards the Sportsman Alliance. They are a company that works tirelessly to protect our rights, not only as hunters, anglers, and trappers, but as houndsmen as well. They are directly involved with the fight across the country and keeping people informed on what's going on. If you're interested of what's going on, not only in your state, but across the country, guys, be sure to check them out. They're on Facebook. Like I said, it's the Sportsman Alliance. You can go on there, and there's links on their Facebook page to their website and to help become a member and help support the fight. Not only, like I said, not only in your state, but across the country. So that is a good one to think about and try to join up with. And that, like I said, it's where I get a lot of my stuff from, guys. I like going on there and checking. I don't have the time to dig deep into every state and what's going on across the country, and they do a great job of keeping you informed. So a lot of the stuff you're hearing, I'm probably just relaying unless I hear it beforehand for somehow. But that's a great place to check out. Make sure you're following those guys, and if you're able, support them. Support them as well. They're doing a lot to protect the sport, guys, of hound hunting in general. Lastly, only Around the Howl, before we get going back to the episode, I want to take a second and celebrate and honor the life of DJ Bennett. DJ was an avid houndsman along with his parents, Mr. Dwayne and Mrs. Mary Carol Bennett. If you were ever blessed enough to be around DJ to hunt, I promise you left with a smile. He was a great guy to be around, always a good time, and a heck of a houndsman. So, he tragically lost his life in last week. And we want to take a second as houndsmen, and want to take a second to celebrate and honor the life of Mr. DJ Bennett. And we're going to take a moment of silence, and when the moment of silence is over, we will get back to the episode. So, we're kind of hitting on the products, so let's go ahead and move into them. That's what it's going to be listening want to hear. So, okay. I got a list of products that you have. Obviously, towards the end, we're going to kind of bounce into some of the other products, but I kind of went through and really wanted to touch on some of the biggest ones that I think in the hound hunting and the field trialing community, along with the deer dog guys, are going to be more attracted to. I think they're going to benefit our guys more. And I think the biggest one probably that y'all have, and probably the one that I love more than any of them, that I just, man, the way it works, it's incredible, is your canine remove. So I'll kind of let you take the reins and kind of explain what it is and, kind of how it works. Give me a little background on it.
So the canine remove, it is a natural-based wormer that you actually top dress onto the feet. The application rate and doing volume is only 1 ounce per 10 pound of feed. Okay. If you're doing it where you're putting it on each day, you can top dress it, but you're going to have a difficult time getting that ratio. You're going to end up using a little bit more, but it's going to work. Ideally, you want to use it for at least 2 weeks to take care of all of your intestinal parasites, including tapeworms.
Gotcha.
I myself, and I don't tote nearly as many dogs as you guys do. Right. But what works nice for me is I can worm my dogs today. We go out in the woods, they get into a gut pile tomorrow, I have worms again. Yep. So I honestly that 1 2-pound container is going to last me 2 whole hunting seasons. So I leave my dogs on it from September through April of every year, just so I know I'm worm free.
Right.
Obviously, if I had 40 or 50 hounds, I would not be doing that.
Right.
It is flat out the most inexpensive way to worm a pile of dogs.
Yes.
And what's really nice about it is a physical kill, not a chemical kill.
Yes.
So those parasites cannot develop an immunity to it like they can Safeguard or to some of the other wormers that are manicures that are on the market. They're a chemical kill.
Right.
I always kind of relate it to have you anybody ever used a fly swatter? And indefinitely everybody tells me they have.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them, have you ever seen a fly become immune to a fly swatter? And no, they have not. It's going to kill them every time because
Fair.
it's a physical kill instead of a chemical kill.
Right.
And the canine remove is going to be the same way. Like I said, it's going to take care of any of your intestinal parasites.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be on it at least 2 weeks to take care of everything, including tapes.
Gotcha.
But it's one of those things too. In most of our products, you're never going to have to concern yourself with overdosing your dog.
Okay. All right.
Whereas, I don't know how many guys I've talked to over the years that have used ivermectin.
Yep.
And they forgot to put their reading glasses on, and maybe the dose was a little bit too much. And I mean, I had one guy down in Mississippi that was convinced that his neighbor came and poisoned his dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality was he just overdosed them on ivermectin after we got to the bottom of it. And I'm a big fan of ivermectin. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
It is a great product, but you have to be concerned about overdosing. Whereas with any of the elite products, that's not going to be a concern. So you can overdo it, and the only thing that's going to hurt is your pocketbook.
Yeah. It's half a cc for ivermectin, not 5 cc's.
Yeah, exactly right.
The glasses will make you miss that decimal.
0.5 cc's, and he didn't have his glasses on, and he did 5 cc's.
Yeah, that'll play damage here quickly.
I will tell you though, I'm a big fan of the liquid ivermectin over the paste, because when I got COVID, like everybody else, I went and got a thing of that apple flavored paste.
Right.
There ain't no apple about that. That was the nastiest, most miserable thing I've ever eaten in my life. It is horrible. So get the liquid ivermectin, mix it in with your whiskey, your cookies, whatever.
Call it a day.
Yeah, exactly. Don't mess with that paste. It's horrible.
Code it. Don't trust it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, what I think me and you were talking yesterday, and, I was feeding a little heavy after I described it to you on the wormer, as much as I was doing. It comes with a half-ounce scoop, and I believe you kind of had it labeled as a half ounce per 25 pounds, if I'm remembering correctly. Yep. So
yeah, and you can follow that labeling, but the one thing I've found when we're dealing with a lot of dogs, the most economical way, and you're still going to get those results, is 1 ounce per 10 pound of feed.
Okay.
And there's going to be a lot of the products that we go through that are going to be that same ratio.
Right.
And what I've found, the easiest way to do that for a guy that has a bunch of dogs, outside of going and investing in a small cement mixer,
right,
is to get yourself a 5-gallon bucket.
Yep.
Weigh your feed one time.
Right.
To 10 pounds.
Yep.
Put that magic marker on the inside of that bucket so you know where you're at the next time. You put that in, you put the lid on, you roll it down the hill, you shake it up a little bit. You got your feed mixed for a week. Some of you guys might have your feed mixed for that feeding. But you know what I mean? Depending on how many dogs you're feeding.
No, that's a great idea. I
wouldn't
have thought of that.
Because it is a very small dose to that much feed, so you want to make sure that it gets coated.
Coated, that's right.
And honestly, as far as a palatability standpoint, if you do it that way, the fat from your feed is going to absorb that powder into it. They won't even notice it's there.
Nope.
Now, if you do some top dressing, they might notice it's there, but I mean, there ain't too many picky hounds out there.
No, not at all. I know mine have no.
Like the Labrador, there are not too many picky ones.
That's right. I know mine have painted no mind, and a lot of times too, I'll take, and I don't know if this helps or if this is something that you recommend or don't recommend. I'll put a little splash of water on top of it, and it kind of helps it really soak in.
Exactly right.
And it does a great job, and the dogs seem to really like it more. I mean, they're licking when they get done with the bowl, and they're licking the side of the bowl trying to get everything they can off of it. So that's just another way that I do it personally that seems to help. But
yeah, and that is one product that you can use off-label. So we have it in 2-pound containers for the dogs. But if you got, if you're carrying a bunch of dogs, we do have that in a 5-pound container and hang on, let me double check. I think it's a 5. It might be a 6.
Okay. Yeah. And I know the 2-pound container, while you're looking for that, I know the 2-pound container, I've got 31 dogs at the house that I just did a cycle on. And one 2-pound container, I got 2 full days of worms. So I got about a week out of about a container and a half on 31 dogs on that 2 scoops per dog. So, I mean, that just kind of goes to show you the longevity of that. And and 38 bucks. 38 bucks. You're not going to beat that.
No. So the remove, it comes in a 5-pound container.
Okay.
And a 25-pound container on the equine side. That product's the same. You can mix it the same.
Okay.
So if you're got that 25-pound bucket, it's going to cost you $325, but that's going to go.
It's going to go a long time.
25 divided by. That's going to treat 3,750 pounds of dog food.
There you go.
That's going to last you a minute.
That's going to last a long time.
Yep.
So I know a lot of guys that are going to be listening are going to be asking and wondering, if you went, like you said, if you have worms, you're doing it 2 weeks in a row. And if I'm not mistaken, label calls for every other day, correct?
Mm-hmm. I just do it straight.
Got you. You just do it straight. I got you. Mm-hmm. And I've done it every other day for 2 weeks, and it's knocked them out. I have no worms. Usually, honestly, I'll be honest with you, the last time that I did fight worms after the first day of giving it, I did not see any more. Now, of course, I kept up with the cycle to make sure, all the eggs and all that kind of stuff was taken care of, and it killed anything that I couldn't see. But as far as visible tapes that I could see, after the first day, they were gone. But like you said, the 2 weeks is obviously, when you're having issue, is highly recommended.
Yeah.
But if somebody was trying to go on a maintenance that had, 30-something dogs, 40-something dogs that wanted to go on a regiment, what do you recommend as far as a regiment goes to just
I
as
would
a
make
protective?
sure that you're doing 2 weeks. It does not have. I would do at least a week straight, but you want to get 2 weeks in at least once every 3 months.
Once every 3. Okay. Once a quarter.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then obviously adjust if you know that your dog got into something that might be infected.
Yep. I understand. Gotcha. And I tell you, one of the biggest things that I've noticed about it too was, versus some other wormers that I've used, is that it doesn't seem to really upset the stomach very much.
No,
it seems
it won't.
to very easy on the dog as far as how they're feeling while you're worming. A lot of times you give them a wormer and you kind of tell they're not feeling very good. They're passing some nasty stuff and it affects them. But with this,
the biggest thing is a lot of your wormers are drugs that are designed to kill things, so they actually are upsetting the health of the gut too.
Gotcha.
Whereas this product's actually many of the ingredients in are going to work as a prebiotic to increase the surface area of the food to allow the gut to digest better.
I like it.
It's not a probiotic where it's live organisms like some of our other products, but it's actually going to enhance their digestion versus hindering it like your traditional wormers would.
Right. Yep. And that makes a lot of sense too. Everything about it, man. That's probably been one of my favorite products that I've tried and used so far from Elite. I've been very, very pleased with it.
And it's funny because whenever I get down south, Grand American or any, down there, that's a very popular product for you guys down there.
Yep.
Whereas up my way, the average guy, whether it be a coon hunter, beagle, or whatever, they don't keep dogs like cattle. They tend to have 3 or 4.
Right.
So, inexpensive wormers, not on the forefront of their mind. They're into it for our stuff, for the other stuff. But down your way, the wormer is a big deal. And I think part of it too is you guys don't get a big freeze to, like, a lot of your stuff never dies because you don't get the weather we get.
Right. I think it's been the past. This is the first winter we've had a really good freeze, and I'm praying that we don't fight them nowhere near as hard. I mean, last year was one of the worst I've ever seen. If it rained hard, we fought worms. Like, just instantly, you just fought worms with a hard rain. I don't know what the deal was, why. I'm not a scientist. I don't understand all that stuff. But, man, when a hard rain came, it was, you better get ready. You better get ready to worm. We started, once it did hard rain, we just hit them with wormer just to prevent, as a preventative. But, I think that's it seems like a pretty good take on the remove. Is there anything that we're forgetting on the remove?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So the next product
let's just put it out there too. If guys are listening and they have other questions or whatever, I'll give you my cell phone number too. We'll do it again later, but just so it's for the guys that might fast forward sometimes, we'll
that's right. Yeah, hit it.
So my cell phone number is 412-596-0264. Excuse me, 0264. So that's 412-596-0264. Give me a holler anytime. Text me. If I don't want to answer, I won't. Sometimes, but I will get back to you. But
That's right.
I know there's some guys that they think it's appropriate to send Facebook messages at 2:00 in the morning. That doesn't mean I'm going to respond.
Yeah. Trust me, I understand 110%. I understand more than you know. So it's now time for the Spotlight, presented by Cajun Lights. This is where each week we will recognize winners and other accomplishments across the field trial world. Now let's shine a lights on these guys and these dogs, and let's get to this week's winners. All right, welcome to the Spotlight, presented by Cajun Lights. Excuse me, I've been doing a lot of uhs here in this episode, so excuse me, guys. Trying to fix that, and there I go again. Look at that. Not a lot going on this week as far as hunts go, but a big one is the Fox Hunters Hall of Fame 2025 inductions were announced last week. I want to take a second to recognize all the inductions that will be going in. We'll start with the living hunters. That would be Mr. Pete Warren, Mr. Cliff Parker, and Mr. Jeff Breincheck. I believe that's how you say his last name. I hope I didn't murder that one. Hunters that are no longer with us, Mr. William Blue, Mr. Bill Borum, and Mr. Irvin Janney. And I hope I said that last name right, too. Y'all forgive me if I murdered those last names on those two names. Let's move on to the sire. These are some big ones, guys, especially in, here in the modern day. Not necessarily modern like right now, but you'll hear them. The sires, DNS Mighty Man, Jet Pilot Ray, and Maggie Sticker. That's three huge ones got there, guys. Not a whole lot of... you want to talk about some tough, gritty hounds, you find you something off of DNS Mighty Man, and I promise that's what you're getting. But let's see. Let's move on to the dams. Opie's Kitty, Ray's Windy, Flying S Tiny, and B&B Slipper. We were actually at a hunt this past weekend talking about Slipper, and I heard a lot of good compliments on it. That was before my time, obviously, but they talked about how one could just absolutely get down and boogie, and that was one of them, as far as the female goes. So let's move into the greatest running hounds section. Start off with Barefoot's Lemonade, CMK's Calvary, and God We Trust, and Gunstock Casper. I challenge, especially if you have a white dog, I challenge you to find a white dog that doesn't go back to Gunstock Casper. That was I know we're not talking about producing right now. We're talking about greatest running hound, but that Casper has really seems to be in a lot of your breedings. I know I got some white dogs, and they definitely go back to that. Let's see. Greatest cross. Beechwood's Okie and Clyburn's Christie. That's your first cross. Second cross is Wiznut's Jimmy B and B&B's Pearl. And the last cross was Hunter Slide and East Coast Cody. Three great crosses right there, guys. I know, especially if I'm here in Virginia and North Carolina, you've definitely seen something and probably been beat by the Wiznut Jimmy B and B&B Pearl's cross. It's definitely a legendary cross right there for sure. Let's see. All right, that is everything as far as the Hall of Fame inductions. The Masters banquet will be held on the same week as the Masters itself, the Masters hunt. So be sure to check out Master Fox Inc. website and Facebook page if you're interested in going. And you'll get to see all these great hunters and hounds inducted into the Hall of Fame at the banquet. Last thing before we get back into the episode, don't forget the 2-day derby at Pools that we are hosting. It'll be on April 18th and 19th. That is a Friday and Saturday because it is Easter weekend. So out of respect, we are not going to run on Easter Sunday. So we're doing it on Friday and Saturday. If you're interested in going, get your money in ASAP. Check on the Masters Fox page. Check on the Hounds Tales page, on Speed Dogs, on pools. There's plenty of places to find all the information about the hunt. Get your money sent in ASAP, 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 ASAP. A little less than 90 numbers available still. So make sure if you are interested in going in, getting to that hunt, you send your money in ASAP. So you make sure you get locked in. All right, guys, that is it for the Spotlight presented by Cajun Lights, and we're going to get back to the episode right now. With the next product I really wanted to hit on was another big one that I've really come to love is the Electro Boost, the K9 Electro Boost. So, I'll let you kind of take the reins on it again.
We'll touch base on the Punch and the Electro Boost at the same time because they're kind of doing the same thing. So we have two products that are really geared towards rehydration and keeping your dogs cool. One is the Punch, which is a water-soluble product that you mix 1 ounce in a gallon of water. And the other one is the Electro Boost that's a paste. Mm-hmm. They're both very similar products, but we tend to use the Punch as more of a maintenance or leading up to a trial where we're giving that to them ahead of time. It keeps them drinking. It keeps them hydrated. And the Electro Boost is one that we're going to use for performance right before we drop them, but also for that recovery. Right. What makes them different than other electrolyte products that are on the market, because that's a category that there's 1,000 of them. Right. And I promise you, your guys have figured out another 1,000 to add to the mix too.
That's right.
What really makes that different is it's going to increase the red blood cell count.
Okay.
In the dog. When you increase the red blood cell count, you get more oxygen going to the muscles.
Yep.
Up at our therapy barn, we have one of those thermal imagers that measures the temperature, and you can actually look in and you can see the veins.
Yeah.
Horse, right?
Yeah.
Within 10 minutes after giving a dog a dose of the Electro Boost tubes, we can see where that's getting throughout the dog's entire body.
Wow.
We've actually, LW down there in Cajun last summer or late fall, he actually pulled some dogs out of heat stroke. That they were treeing hard for a long time. It was warm. Whenever they got to the tree, they were lethargic. They were already on IVs, and they were still down.
Wow.
And he actually, obviously, increased the dose where he was giving them a dose every 20 minutes. He was actually able to pull them back out of the heat stroke. Again, that oxygen getting to the muscles cools them down. But so the Punch is going to be more of a maintenance that you can leading up to it. The Electro Boost is going to be, like I said, if you give them a dose before you drop them, and the dose on that is 1 to 2 cc's per 20 pound of dog weight. Right. Within 15 minutes, they will get an energy boost, but it will also keep them cool.
Awesome.
If they come back in after that round and they're running dog, hit them again until you run again the next day.
Right.
The other thing it will do is it will make them drink too.
Okay.
So a lot of times, when my dog is in the woods, he's so gamey, he might need water, but he's running right through the water because he's after. It's going to make them
doing what he's supposed to be doing. Right.
Yeah, it's going to make them drink whenever they need to.
Okay.
But 1 dose of the Electro Boost is going to be the equivalent of the dog drinking 2 gallons of water.
Wow.
As far as getting them and rehydrated.
Yeah.
And that's one that, it's just enough of the right people started using that in the hound world that all of a sudden it just last year it just took off.
Yeah, I know LW had told me, I forgot, it was one of the big coon guys was like, don't tell nobody about this. Don't tell nobody about it. I want to keep it for myself. But I tell you, I've been kind of playing with it a lot here lately with the with while we pleasure run and stuff, and I'll give it to a handful of dogs, and then don't give it to another handful of dogs. And it seems like to me the ones that I give it to, they're hitting faster. It seems like they can hold longer. I don't know how long it really stays in the system. It's especially for us that run 5 hours at a time without stopping.
Yeah, and it depends, and that's a situation too. And unfortunately, you guys don't have the ability. But like, if you are running on the outside where you catch the dogs, like you can hit them in the middle of the hunt and kind of rejuvenate them again.
Yep. Right.
Like a lot of my bear dog guys or my coon hunters, they'll give it to them whenever they go in on the tree.
Right.
Same thing with my coyote guys up here that are running on the outside. They're they're seeing their dogs a little bit more
Yeah.
frequently than what you guys are in the pens.
Yeah, yeah. Once we cast, man, it's over. Now, can you give too much of the paste?
For you guys, I would say no.
Okay.
For the coon hunter and the bird hunter, I would say yes, and not because you're overdosing the dog.
Yeah.
But they tend to get a little bit more energy than I want. Like if you don't want to tree that coon 2 miles away, don't overdo it. You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
So in the way you guys are doing it, I don't think you're really going to be able to overdo it. They're not going to lose their gaminess. Right. They're just going to be full of piss and vinegar and maybe not stay where you want them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So what I mean, is that the red blood cells, getting opened up? Is that part of that energy boost?
Yeah, because it's increasing their circulation, increasing more oxygen, keeping them cool, giving them more energy. And it does have B vitamins. It does have the electrolytes that are, like the other products on the market. But the big thing that separates that product from the others is the fact that we're actually increasing the red blood cell count.
Gotcha.
Which, again, that's going to help with your recovery in between days, too. Because the more oxygen you get going to those muscles, the quicker those muscles are going to recover as well.
Gotcha. And hats off to y'all. I just got the Canine Punch and the new updated Canine Punch in. That's the
it dissolves a little bit better.
Oh my gosh, it's so much better.
Yeah.
Hats off to y'all on that one. That was a big win. I got it in. I messaged El Debbie. I'm like, did you send me the right stuff? I'm like, this doesn't look right, man. And he goes, no, it's updated. And I'm telling you, when I put it in, it just it disappeared. It did exactly what it needed to do. So hats off to y'all for that one. Y'all nailed it on that update.
Good deal.
But that's something that I started too. Was before a hunt, the week leading up, I'll mix it in my water, my water tanks, that I'm giving the dogs. I'm a big lot guy. Like I have a big lot. I got like 350 feet of fence and 10 by 10s. It's a big lot and it's a lot of dogs. So I have a 10-gallon bucket that I use every day, and I mix that powder in, that whole week leading up. And I'm telling you, you don't ever see a dog, pissing any kind of yellow. It's all as clear as you can be. And I'm telling you, it is. You can really tell. They don't seem to get down as hard.
Correct.
After it, it seems to really keep that push going during a run, during a practice run, during a training run, whatever you want to call it. And that's kind of been one of the biggest things that I've noticed about it. And I'm sure that will, once we get into the hunt season and we start going through the field trials, I know that's going to really play a big factor in that as well.
One thing I do want to say on the punch,
yes,
is if you're using a diamond-plated watering system where you're storing multiple days of water at a time in a confined space, I would not recommend mixing the punch in there unless you know you're going to go through it quickly, because it will absorb, like you said, but if it's in there for 2 weeks, it's going to start to settle.
Yes.
And it's going to start to sour that water a little bit too.
Yes. Yep.
If it's not 100% airtight. So mix it in your buckets, whatever. And you can mix it into there. Just make sure you're draining it and that you're rinsing it out in between usage too, so you don't get that residue stuck.
Makes sense. And that this stuff probably plays a heck of a role in recovery too.
Absolutely. That's why I said the more oxygen you can get to those muscles, the quicker they're going to recover.
Yep. And like you said, I think that pace is going to do really good. After we get the dogs in from a day of running, hit them real quick, and that's just.
And you can continue to, in between your rounds, you can continue to have the punch mixed in the water and hit them with Electro Boost. It's just going to help out even more. Again, 1 container of punch is going to make 45 gallons of water.
Yes.
It's going to go a long way. It's not
long way.
And when I say a long way, I do recognize the fact that you guys have a few more dogs than we do, so it's not as long a way as it is for me, but it's still a decent amount.
I mean, one of the biggest things I've noticed about it is if the product works, people are going to use it. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to recognize it, and and this is one of those things that I've recognized and I've used, and I won't turn away from it. I absolutely love it. So I think that probably hits about everything for the Electro Boost and the Canine.
Yes, sir.
It's time for the listener question section presented by the Southern Hound Hunting Magazine. If you're looking for a magazine that reaches all of your all things hound hunting, the Southern Hound Hunting Magazine has it. From foxhounds, deer dogs, hog dogs, small game dogs, you name it, the Southern Hound Hunting Magazine has it. Visit their website today at southernhoundhunting.com to get a 1-year subscription of quarterly magazines for just $20. Now let's get to these questions and we'll discuss these topics that y'all sent in. Thank y'all so much, Southern Hound Hunting Magazine, for your partnership. All right, welcome to the listener questions presented by the Southern Hound Hunting Magazine. Now we want to take a second and thank Mr. Chip Kohser for coming on with us and talking about all their great products. It's definitely something we'll have another episode here maybe in a couple months and get to talk to him again about maybe some of the products we talked there at the end that we didn't really get far into, but there's definitely a lot more material left, but we don't want to saturate the podcast with all that kind of information. So I just want to thank him again for coming on, and thank Elite Nutrition again, and for the probably 1,000th time you've heard it, CajunLights.com, Elite Nutrition Products, HT Elite 10, HTELITE, the number 10. At your checkout, and you get 10% off your order. Y'all be sure to do it, guys. Try the products. I promise you will love them. All right, so listener questions presented by the Southern Hound Hunting Magazine. And don't forget to get your subscription in. They are quarterly magazines, like you just heard on the advertisement. And I promise they are great reads. The topic that I chose today, let's see, trying to think, I forgot to write down who asked the question. Anyway, the question was, does a fox pen ruin a deer dog? Love this question. I have mixed feelings. I have very mixed feelings about it. I think if you overdo it, yes, it will. I think it also depends. I think there's a lot of different variables that can go into that. I think if you're running in a bigger pen, you're less likely to. I think if you are running in smaller packs, smaller groups, like if you are able to have a night at a big pen and you're running by yourself, I think you stand a chance of not ruining a deer dog in the pen. I think no matter what, you need to make sure you are running on the outside and getting some outside conditioning in to take away any chance of a dog being roady and understand it that they can go past the fence to run. You know what I mean? So I think it is double-edged sword. I think if you constantly pleasure run in a pen and hunt in a pen, if you do both of those, yes, I think it stands a chance to be. I think it stands a chance to ruin a dog. I noticed in some of my own that if I overrun them in the pen without running them on the outside, they will be a little bit more roadied. I think they have a hard time breaking down and hunting, knowing that if you pick up on some pen tendencies, they will just blow through blocks and not really break down and hunt. And I think it depends on how you like it. This is such an open-end question, guys. Honestly, it really is. I mean, I think it depends on your dog. Not all dogs are going to be, not all dogs are going to be able to do both. Some dogs need to be strictly on the outside. Then you have some that can handle both, or you got some that need to be strictly on the inside. And I think it also depends on what kind of dog you like. When I'm on the outside hunting, I don't like a dog that just blows through the block and hunts fast. I will call it that. I will hunts fast. I like a dog that stays, and when it jumps out the truck, it runs 15, 20, 30 yards into the woods, and he breaks down and starts hunting. I want to see him bird dogging, flipping leaves over and getting after it. So one that just blows through a block and doesn't really pay attention to any of his surroundings, sure, there's blocks that benefits great. But I don't really like that. And I think, in my opinion, running in the wire constantly and not putting them on the outside will put that into them a little bit. So again, I think it's a very open-ended, it can go a lot of different ways kind of thing. But to me, the general, if you had to say an overall, my answer would be yes. It can hurt them. Does it all the time? No. But if you're not careful, it will. My opinion, that may not be everybody else's opinion. There's lots of opinions out there. There's lots of things that people could say. And we could, go into that and go into that and go into that. But in my opinion, I think if you overdo it without teaching them the outside habits that they need to do, then yes, I think it will. I think it can. And I think you stand a higher chance of it. If you want a good outside dog, run on the outside. You don't take an athlete training to be, how do I say it? You don't take an athlete preparing for the long jump and make him run the 4x4 and expect him to compete in the long jump. That's the way I kind of look at it. It is the same. It is the same, but it's not the same. Or I guess you could say a better analogy. You don't take somebody that's going to run a long distance marathon and train him by running 100-meter sprints. I think there's a difference in how you work, the way the dog works. And I think if you put too much of the wrong thing in him, you're going to be very disappointed when you go out for deer season and expect him to perform like you want him to. So that's just my opinion. Like I said, there's a million different ways to look at it. But next week, we will probably be finishing up this episode with Mr. Chip. And this was a lot of information. Actually, I think I misspoke earlier when I said that I record this at a different time. If you're watching a video, you can obviously see that. But there's a lot more information coming. I did forget we're going to split this episode. So there's a lot more information coming, guys. And then again, we are going to pick his brain later in the year as well and get some more information. So y'all stay tuned for the second half. I do have some other guests lined up, ready to record that y'all are going to thoroughly enjoy. And we'll be talking more field trialing and here in the next couple episodes after next week's episode. So, guys, thank y'all so much for listening again. Be sure to check out those products at occasionalights.com. And again, Elite Nutrition 10. HT Elite 10 at checkout. All right, guys, 10% off. Thank y'all so much. And like always, guys, happy hunting.